Ladies and gentlemen, it's round 9 of PC Tier 5. Champions could be crowned tonight. But just before we get to that, we've got qualifying. We've got a race. We've got 35 laps, give or take, of the Austrian Grand Prix circuit. Right ahead of us, alongside me, myself, Cutcast tonight. I've got a new face to at least commentating with me, so we'll see how this goes. It's myself, and it is WOR, Gareth Davis. How are we? And are we looking forward to the action that we've got right ahead of us tonight?
Definitely. It's always good to see a new league, new drivers. And Austria, it's always an interesting track.
It certainly is. It's one of the shortest laps on the circuit. I believe it might even be the shortest one available to the drivers in the F124 game. It's going to be just over 1 minute that the drivers will be looking for a lap to go around this circuit. At the moment, Darks and Ace at the top with a 103.368. He's 2/10 ahead of David Martinez in second place, and you'd expect those times to come down. I mean, 103, we're almost breaching the under a minute mark. That is how short a lap is around the Spielberg circuit. But I mean, it will certainly throw up something different.
It certainly will, and even qualifying is definitely really important here. But corner cutting, you've got to make sure you do a clear, clean lap, or otherwise, in the race you pick up penalties, and in qualifying you might lose 3 or 4 positions because of it. Yeah,
for example, we've just had a look at Redmer, who went on to a lap, and he invalidated in turn number 1. That will be a huge section where drivers will really start to struggle. Turn 1, where you're expected to cut that corner, but just keep one tyre on the track and you'll be A-OK. No, it wasn't the case, though, for the Mercedes, who cut that first corner, invalidated on his lap, and he won't be improving on a 104.129. He's at the back of the mid-pack at the moment. There's 4 drivers in the 104.1s, but they are 4/10 off anybody else at this start. So I think Darks and Ace, considering the fact that we've still got track evolution to go, considering all of the factors that lie ahead of us, I think he's put in a pretty solid lap.
It's definitely a good starting point. And well, we see second place, the Williams teammate of Darks and Ace, Chrisu, I believe is the correct pronunciation there. He's done 2. He's done an extra install lap, and you can get away with that at Austria because it is such a short circuit, and some drivers might want to go down that route.
Yeah, I think we might be seeing a little bit of that tonight. But as we head into the second half of this qualifying session, the drivers, they'll be looking to cut down those laps as much as we can and try to catch up to the 2 Williams cars at the top. Ironat at the moment, he's on a lap, and he is just over half a tenth up as he heads through the first sector and into the second DRS zone as well. On this lap, the second full DRS zone. It's always a hard distinction to make with that main straight, because it starts on the previous lap and ends on the one afterwards. But for qualifying purposes, it is the second and last full DRS zone on the lap. Ironat's going purple in that second sector, up by almost 1/10 and a half. He's the only driver in realistic contention actually for this title, other than our championship leader, who I'll get onto in a moment. And Ironat will need a strong performance tonight if he's able to keep in there. There goes the championship leader up in second place. Ironat, though, he displaces Ariane Sanger in that second place. Sanger is 20 points ahead of Ironat at the top of the table. And despite shaky attendance for both of those two, they're looking much stronger than the rest of the field.
Looking through the standings, definitely. The only other driver that possibly has had shakier appearances this season is Dalan, who's just about to finish their lap, coming into turn 9 and 10 now. Technically, they're in with a chance of this title. They have just invalidated, unfortunately, and going massively wide. But it would take monumental effort. Monumental from Iona and Aaron for crashing out of the race and picking up no points, and Dalan taking the victory.
Yeah, and Dalan McTither, his lap time would have actually only been good enough for 8th place at the moment. It was a 103.619, and you think about the times that he gained by going off the circuit more than once on that lap. Darks and Ace, though, he went even quicker, 103.358, as we got our first retirement of the session. Danko will be participating no further. Not 100% sure why, as he's just come into the pits and retired there and then, and he wasn't even able to breach that 04 mark. He wasn't even able to get down into the 103s that seemed to be the benchmark, as Jake Dorser actually gets disqualified from the session, as I'm trying to find an onboard of him for going the wrong way. So I'm not sure what has happened there.
Well, that is very... I mean, I'm on board with his teammate, and that's very, very odd, going wrong way around the Red Bull ring. It's not that difficult to go the right way round. So something has obviously happened. But Christian, his teammate's coming across the line now, but only managed to 103.929. It's 3 drivers very close together. Actually, there's a lot of drivers who are clumped together in qualifying in comparison to times.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, you've got AMG Ironut and Ariane Sanger, 300ths between the 3, and then Chrisu, David Martinez. There's just 100th between those 2. Then you've got the drivers in the 0.7, so Christoph Godor, Giovanni Baruzza. Then 0.9s, you've got Thomas Bausi, Yanni Alexandrov, and Christian Lubinov. Be interested actually to see how the Ferrari gets on, because as always, there's been a lot of fighting talk coming from particularly Alexandrov's camp, but yeah, we'll see how that goes, as he, at the moment, is in P12, just creeping in ahead of Christian Lubinov. Lubinov, it's really not been his season, as the only finishes that he's had have been P13, and he's pretty much raced the entire season. The only race he's missed was China, so I think at this point it is just a case of getting to the end of season 19. Looking forward to season 20, and the Red Bull driver will be looking maybe to get those time trials in, to try and bang out those laps, get into tier 5 again, and demonstrate what he's really capable of. Some drivers, though, they'll be looking up. They'll be looking to join the likes of tier 4, tier 3, the real elites. They'll be trying to go toe-to-toe with Ariane Sanger, one of those who I believe is in line for a promotion. I mean, he's only raced 5 times this season. He's only joined this tier on round 2 of this season. He missed the race around Kota, but his record so far this season is first, second, first, and then a poor race last time out in Canada, which ended up in 7th place. So it's entirely possible that he drops off here, but as you said earlier about Dallin, it would take a monumental effort.
Yeah, we'll have to wait. Well, we'll have to wait and see how it all popped down. Ariane Sanger, though, he's 3/10 up in the middle sector alone. That's enough to throw an absolute whopper of a time in compared to everyone else. If they can keep this sort of pace up, throwing the car into the final corner, and unfortunately, is an invalidation. But that would have been enough to claim pole provisionally.
Yeah, I mean, it's the risk you have to run around the Österreich ring, as it would be, as its old name would be before it got renamed to the Red Bull ring. It's a difficult risk to run, because there are some corners that you do just have to cut. I think the final corner and the first corner are the ones where it is the worst for the drivers. You just got to keep one tyre in there. Mouchoir, he's kept a tyre in there, and he's kept a hand on this pole position. He's thrown his car into contention at the moment. He's the first and only driver to challenge Darks and Ace. AMG didn't improve on his second run. Ariane Sanger, he's stuck in P5. There goes Dalamutier. He goes up, but he's still behind Darks and Ace. Timon Voss, he was looking good as he comes across the line. 103.306 is better than good. It's actually good for, well, it's actually perfect. It's pole position at the moment for the Kick Sauber. It's the front row for both the Kick Saubers, as Voss and Mouchoir stamp their authority and just throw the gauntlet down in this qualifying session.
Yeah, both the Kick Saubers, really, really strong times there. But Darks and Ace, well, we haven't seen the best. The track is obviously heating up, and with the fact that, we will have a lobby restart after this, it will be, you can use as many of the soft tyres that you've got to your disposal, haven't you? And these guys will just go quicker and quicker and quicker.
They will, and it remains to be seen how much the the track evolution plays a part in this one, because throughout this season it has been a huge component, a huge point of contention for some drivers, that the times just seem to come down. So even if you get the perfect lap on your first run, it might not even be enough for pole position. And Ducks and Ace at the moment currently finding that his first 2 runs have been almost perfect. And well, there's his third run. His third run was even better, 103.141. Pole position goes back into the hands of the Williams, but it just goes to show that you do just have to be consistently quality in order to keep a spot at the top. And it's just, I think it matters more actually about that 1 lap pace right at the end of the session.
Both, it's 2 by 2 at the top. It's Chrisu now. The Williams are, well, returning. The gauntlet was thrown down by the Kick-Sauber, and the Williams have responded really well there. And, you know, Ducks and Ace, yeah, consistency, 1 lap pace is definitely needed around there, but it's just showing the quality that he has to continue fighting.
Yeah, this would actually be his first pole position in the season if he's able to get it in there. And well, that's a fascinating stat for you there, Ariane Sanger. The most poles of the season, the most wins of the season, 3 and 3, as he sits on top of the table at the moment, of pretty much every single stat you can think of, despite the fact that he has the second smallest gap in all of WOR at the end of season 19. But yeah, it just raises an interesting point, the likes of Ducks and Ace, who's not, he's come in and he's absolutely dominated in the races that he's done so far. But, you know, the likes of Chrisu, not had the season that he would have wanted, not had the qualifyings that he would have wanted. He's not actually picked up, I don't believe, any pole positions at all. So I think it's an interesting point to note that some drivers will favour some tracks. And it could be that the Williams and Kick-Sauber drivers, this could be their domain.
Yeah, we've not had that many like it. I suppose Canada, well, these two, well, Canada last week and Sao Paulo next week, these 3 tracks all kind of similar. So you could look at it and you go, well, Darks and Ace was quick at Canada. Chrisu, you look at it, they did a DNF, so I'm not 100% sure on the rest of their stuff. So, but maybe we'll see a lot more from the guys that performed well last week.
Yeah, and I mean, we had a few reserves come in from China onwards. I think David Martinez, who actually ended up winning that race, and it's only his third of the season. Ducks and Ace, who ended up 3rd in that race. Thomas Balsa, who looked so good before he didn't towards the end of that one, and then Christoph Godor, who's not really shown anything to note why he should continue in Tier 5 for next season. And he will want to be showing that sort of thing, because at this point in the season, the regular drivers, they'll be tailing off a bit. They won't care as much about these sorts of races, but those who are still fighting for a position, they will a little bit more. You think of the likes of Mouchois, he will be comfortable with those 2 podiums, sitting 4th place at the moment in the standings. Dallin McTeer, despite the fact that he's only finished on the podium or retired, and he's retired quite a lot, he will be pretty happy with the way that his season has gone. Of course, with it being Tier 5, with the drivers being the way that they are, they will still fight it all the way to the end. And I mean, we'll have to wait and see to see if any of these drivers do stamp their authority. They do make their name in PC Tier 5. And well, I think Ducks and Ace, he's done pretty well at doing that, because 2 podiums, one of which being a win in his 2 races this season. That's not bad going.
It definitely isn't. He's showing his hand. He's showing why he should be here. But maybe people will think, actually, if he's done that in his first 2 races, if, argument's sake, he takes a victory tonight, maybe people will go, well, maybe he should be knocking on the door of Tier 4, but maybe getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But Dallin McTeer is quicker on his lap time. It's not enough to, well, worry Darks and Ace, but it's quicker quick enough to maybe displace the 2 Kick-Sauber cars. Yeah,
he invalidates there. He's, in particular, if you look at all of the drivers, he is the one that's struggling, I'd argue, the most with the invalidations of those top drivers. The checkered flag is waved, by the way, and it's the final runs. It's come by in a flash. And Ironut across the line, he's improved by just under 2/10, but it's just good enough for third. But Ariane Sanger, he demonstrates why he could turn out to be a champion tonight. 103.084, and he's gone 600ths ahead of Darks and Ace. Chrisu, he is 2/10 behind, and he's only just improving in that second sector. Darks and Ace not improving at all. So this could be a surprise pole position, a fourth of the season for the Haas. Darks and Ace, 2 more corners to go to see if he can stamp his authority on this race, to see if he can steal back the pole position he so truly deserves. But he runs off the circuit, he invalidates, and he will not be challenging Ariane Sanger tonight, nor will anybody else. I don't think there's any more times to come in apart from David Martinez and Jack Maloney. Martinez is invalidated around the final corner. He's thrown himself into the wall, and Jack Maloney will not be improving either. So Sanger, he could be the champion tonight, and what a way to announce himself this evening.
Yeah, what a way to do. Well, it's a great way to throw yourself in with a shot of becoming the champion. You've got to do well. You can only beat what's in front of you, and he's managed to get it on pole tonight. And if he keeps on going the way he's going, that's a very, very good a start to his possible coronation.
Yeah, it could be. And actually, at the end, Darks and Ace and Chrisu, identical lap times, 0.057 tenths, or 0.057 seconds behind Ariane Sanger, I should say, in second and third. The 2 Williams will be lining up there. Ironut will be in fourth with Timon Voss and Mouchoir. They set good laps, but as the track evolution came, they weren't able to back it up. They will start fifth and sixth. Dallin McTeer in seventh, AMG, Christian Lubinoff and David Martinez rounding out the top 10. Then, looking further down, Thomas Balsa over 5 tenths behind the pole man with Jack Maloney, Daniel, Christoph Godor, Giovanni Baruzza, Redmer, Yanni Alexandrov and Danko rounding out the times. That was set with Jake Dorser with his interesting invalidation or going the wrong way or whatever it ended up being. Dorser will be starting from the back of the grid, a driver that's not had much luck the last couple of races, and he'll be hoping that he's saving it all up for this one. Obviously, last time out, just being a passenger in an incident which saw him not finish in Canada, and this time out, he'll be looking to, he'll be looking just for something better to happen to him. He'll be looking for the luck to go his way.
Definitely. But what I will just obviously being the more knowledgeable of the two of us for tier 5, Ariana Singh, obviously, it feels like it's kind of expected to be the champion tonight, but the 2 ET8 drivers behind, I mean, who from what you've seen has been really the ones to deserve the championship? I
think Ironut's shown a lot more consistent pace than Dallin McTeer's obviously DNF 3 times, but I do think Ironut has shown the most consistent pace out of everybody, even if he isn't the outright championship leader. I think he stakes a claim to be up there because of how consistent he's been, and I think Sanger's just pounced on opportunities when they've arrived, and he's ridden his luck at a couple points this season. You think about the win in the Netherlands, where he actually ended up taking that victory due to, shenanigans is how I would like to call it. There's lots of shenanigans that go on in this tier, and you do just have to be there for your opportunity. And Sanger this season, he's been able to take that. But Ironut, special mention to him as well, because his pace has just been consistent throughout the year. He hasn't had much good luck, hasn't had much bad either. Come to think of it, we're gonna watch just a race start. This looks like only Ariane Sanger is not ghosted as we head to the start of this one. Who's going to retire first? Chrisu, Timon Voss and McTeer have already left. We've got yellow flags out. Danko's got a drive through. Jake Dorser's got a drive through. Sanger just thinks this is a normal race. But other than that, everyone else is throwing themselves into walls. Harder to actually do here. So I think I'm expecting less retirements than in Canada.
Retirements here, probably not so much, but we've seen it. Safety cars are still, I don't want to say quite high, but there's still possibilities throwing up into turn 3, turn 4. We get a lot of incidents there, real life as well as sim racing.
Yeah, I mean there are certainly incidents that happen, at this track. But I mean, throwing yourself into all, it's harder than expected here. But yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting watch to see if there are any incidents. You think about what happened with Lando Norris and what happened with Max Verstappen up at turn 3 and 4. Could that happen with Sanger and Iron tonight? Could we be seeing that Dallin McTeer goes into the final race just 4 points behind Sanger?
Well, type I'm sure will tell as I don't know. Is the new lobby open? This is this is all getting a little bit. Oh, there we go. I think it is finally dropping off. But yeah, it's you've had Rosberg and Hamilton crash up at turn 3 as well. We had who was it that went? Is it Alonso and Raikkonen on the exit of turn 3 as well? Console tier 1. You had going back a fair few years now, but Tom Manley, Alfie Butcher, and I can't remember the other one, fighting into turn 3. I think into turn 4, costing Alfie Butcher massively. And I think it was Skyther. I'm not 100% sure. This is testing my knowledge going back. I'm an old man now, but yeah, you can get loads of controversial incidents here in Austria. And I mentioned on a fair few streams recently, you want a little bit of controversy because it adds a little bit of, for the viewers, it adds a little bit extra.
Showing your experience or showing your age, I don't know what that would be, but Tom Manley and Alfie Butcher, Xbox drivers, that must have that's a throwback and a half. But yeah, I mean, if we do get incidents tonight, I'm certainly not going to be the first to complain. I probably won't be the last either. I'll be somewhere in between. But yeah, we'll see as we head into this race. The drivers here are usually chaotic, so it should be a fun one to watch, to stay alongside us and to stay with us as we bring to you tonight's PC Tier 5 action. Just a quick word while we're waiting for the rest of this race from our sponsors. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed those adverts and how the audio balancing is absolutely wonderful, and I'm very good at that. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring up the standings just for a little bit more context, just so you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that Ariane Sanger could clinch the title tonight. He is 20 points ahead of Ironut in second and 29 back to Dalamukt. Didn't even spot him pre-race. That's a good spot from Warder there. But yeah, 99 points to 79. Interestingly enough, the lowest points tally. I'm coming out with all the fun facts tonight. The lowest points tally of any of the drivers in any of the tiers for a championship leader. Just 99 to be on top of the table. So is that because of the lower expectations, do you reckon? Or do you think that's just because, simply because the racing has been so tight?
I think it's a mixture of a few things, to be honest. Where there's a little bit of a, I don't know, with the top tiers, there's always I say top tiers. With certain tiers, there's always full on expectations and drivers are always quicker. But here, it seems like there's a mix. There seems like there's drivers that are certainly quick in certain tracks and not so quick at others. So I just think it's a little bit mixed, and maybe it's a little bit of incidents on track as well.
Yeah, to be fair, it is, for example, you can see there, Justin Chevalier, he won in Kota and then retired for the next 3 races and has not appeared since. He's not the only driver to have his sole points finish coming from a race victory. The other one is David Martinez. They're the 2 drivers sitting on 25 points. But yeah, it's the likes of, for example, you can see there Dark Zanace coming in 3rd and 1st, just rocking the boat. NSR at the start of the season, 4th, 2nd and 3rd. And then Mouchoir popping up with podiums occasionally. Muktir, when he wants to finish a race, coming in, throwing a gauntlet down, throwing some times down. You do have a number of contenders who are at the top of the standings that just either seem to appear out of nowhere. It does make for very interesting races, and not even for consistency purposes. Of course, because we'd love to see a championship battle, and had Dark Zanace stuck around for most of the season, we would have probably seen one, but alas, he has not. And the championship battle, although looking like it's flickering out at the moment, it could also just be getting started. We could be seeing Ironut and Muktir throw their way back into contention. Outside shots as well, mathematically still in contention. Mouchoir, Giovanni Baruzza, and NSR, who's left. So mathematically he's still in with it, but Mouchoir and Baruzza not so likely. We're just going to get back into the lobby, and then we're just going to get back in to the action. We're going to get our teeth sunk in for the penultimate time this season in PC Tier 5.
Just, looking at the standings, I've already mentioned about, or I've already asked about who you think possibly is the, more consistent, but who's been the, looking at it, there's been a fair few drivers with DNFs to their name. Dalamukt here, obviously Justin Chevalier as well, with 3 DNFs afterwards. Is that down to just unfortunate incidents, or was it things of their own making? Yeah, it just seems a little bit odd. Obviously, I mentioned that maybe a little bit more of a feisty grid than we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of everything. I think it's certainly a case could be made for it to be a mixture of everything. I mean, some drivers cleaner than others. We've seen the likes of Tim Bayer come through. He's very clean, but he's been very unlucky with race incidents this season. The likes of Yanni Alexandrov, a little bit on the other end of the spectrum, but it's one of those things that you do recognise. Dalamukt here as well, not usually the cleanest at some of the tighter tracks, DNFing at Singapore and Netherlands, where the walls are tight. Winning at Las Vegas, where the walls are slightly wider, not too much wider, but slightly wider. And then well, picking up a third place in Texas, where the Wolves are nowhere near you. So you don't even know whether there are Wolves. It's almost as bad as France. But yeah, it's one of those things where you do just have to get that little bit lucky, I think, and you just come out on top. You avoid some of these incidents, and I think to an extent you make your own luck. You think about the likes of Mouchoir, probably could have had better results on pace, but he just keeps getting himself caught up with drivers in that midfield. So yeah, in conclusion to your question, a mixture of everything, with some drivers having a little bit more of a tendency to go one way or the other.
It looks like we're going racing very, very shortly, and obviously Ariana Sanger on pole. Do you think he's going to claim it tonight, take victory, and claim the championship?
Well, I mean, he's had 3 pole positions and 3 victories so far this season, so I don't see why not. But yeah, I think he does just have overall some of the quickest pace that we have seen in this tier, some of the quickest pace relative to the tier that we have seen anywhere. And he's come in second race of the season and absolutely just flown way better than everyone would be expecting to. However, a spanner has flown into the works, as this appears to be possibly even full wet conditions that we have ahead of us here around Austria. So that will just throw another spanner into the works.
Absolutely incredible. It's like its own microclimate here in Spielberg, and it just shows it is absolutely hammering it down. And yeah, I feel some people will be happy about this and some people won't be.
Yeah, I think it's those that have practiced a lot more that I think will be a little bit better. Yeah, they'll be a little bit better around in these sorts of conditions. It's those that have practiced, those that know the track, know the limitations. But then also you could argue that it could go the complete opposite way. You could say that those who have just thrown themselves into this session with nothing really to contend with, you could say that they are just learning the track with everything that's going on. They're learning it as they go. And so while they might be slower at the start of the race, they could be quicker towards the end. And those who have practiced rain are absolute lunatics. No one ever practices rain. What are you doing? Just go back on time trial and set it to dry. But yeah, I mean, if anyone has practiced rain, fair play. And we will see what the conditions are like as we head to the green lights, to the 5 red lights that will go out in just a couple of moments' time. But yeah, I mean, this rain could clear up. You never know. And then we could be heading to, well, I mean, now we're heading to green flag conditions. 5 red lights. And we're away here in Austria. Ariane Sanger gets an absolutely incredible launch. Dogs and Ace has to tuck in behind him. You can barely see for the spray as we head into turn number 1. And it's still side by side between Chrisu and Einart for that 4th place. It's a poor start for the man who needs to head up this race. And now he's in P4. You cannot see a thing because of the spray. David Martinez going side by side with somebody there. I believe that to be AMG. That's a Haas going massively to the inside line. That's Mouchoir having an issue on the exit of turn number 4, and he drops down to 7th position. His teammate Timon Voss inherits 5th, could be inheriting 4th as they head now down the hill. But instead, he tucks back in. His teammate looking to defend and attack at the same time. David Martinez could be under threat, but Jack Maloney and AMG could be looking to move forward. You got lots of slow movers in the background going side by side. Alexandrov, Balsa, Christian Lubinov is in there as well. But well, it's absolute chaos here around Spielberg early on.
Definitely, and so much spray. It's like you quite rightly mentioned, no one can see anything really. And somehow Dallin McTeer, even though he fell down the order, he got a 10-second penalty for gaining an advantage by cutting a corner. I'm not sure how that is even possible because he lost places. But enough said about the game, really, on the state of the game. But he's now coming back through the field, and we'll have to wait and see if he can, well, make a fight towards the top. but it looks like Darks and Ace and Ariana Sanger are going to pull away from this one.
Yeah, Dallin McTeer looking actually to get the advantage at the start, but it not paying off. 10 second time penalty, and he's dropped down the field. 4 of these drivers have taken the gamble. They're on intermediates, so maybe it does clear up, or maybe they're just quicker. At the moment, we saw McTeer get past Jack Maloney. I think it looks as though he might have more grip in some corners, not others though. I think the final sector is where Dallin McTeer is really going to struggle, as everyone appears to be sliding through it. Just watching on board with Mushwar, another driver, to take that gamble onto those inters. And it does appear as though they have a similar amount of grip. The wets were a safe bet, but for Ryanut, Mushwar, Dallin McTeer and Jake Dorser, they fancied a gamble. Las Vegas was round 3, lads. Get back there. But we're here around Austria, and we're trying to do a similar sort of thing. Ironut is just 6/10 behind Chris, who keep an eye on some of those times. He's only 2/10 off Ariane Sanger's fastest lap. So if it gets any drier, he could be right up there.
Well, it's always about taking, with great risks come great rewards. And at the moment, it doesn't look like it's a big risk, because it doesn't seem like there's much difference between the 2 sets of tyres, as AMG and Daniel fighting side by side, which is allowing Dallin McTeer back into it. Darks and Ace and Ariane pulling away. Chris, who just doesn't seem to have any pace in the wet.
Yeah, he will have been one of those drivers who practiced in the dry and is now left hung out to wet. Obviously not to dry, because look at the conditions we've got here. Mouchouard making his way past his teammate Timon Voss. Didn't cut there quick enough to see if it was team orders, but there is a small possibility that it could have been, because those two, they've worked together on a couple of occasions this season. So the Kick Saubers, they're doing something. I believe Mouchouard is being engineered by one of our own, Ace, one of the console commentators, when they bother to turn up. Sorry, so that could be the case, that there was a little bit of team orders in play. Fastest lap taken by Mouchouard on lap 4 of this Grand Prix, 1:14.6. It's certainly getting drier, or at least it's getting more comfortable for those on the inters. I think a dry line is starting to form. Ironut, though, is having to dip a tyre, dip all 4 onto the wet ones. And he's around the outside of Chrisu. He spots that the gap ahead is increasing. And Ironut is trying to force something about it. There's contact. Chrisu runs wide. It's 3 wide as David Martinez pulls alongside as well. He, rightfully so, drops out of it. He feels as though there is not a move to be made until he gets to turn number 5. And that is where he's going to back out again, because Chrisu just holding on to that one. But 2.6 seconds now is the gap between Ironut and Dux and Ace. But crucially for Ironut, he is now ahead of the Williams.
Part of me thinks Chrisu may be trying to do some sort of, hold-up drop for Darks and Ace there to allow them to get away a little bit. But I'm not sure. They are still dropping away a little bit. The Inter's struggling for pace comparison to the top. But when this track does start to dry out, and if it does, we don't know if it is going to get drier. The top 2 might get caught up a little bit. That time will be wonderful to see if it will go down or not. But here comes David Martinez. See if what they can do against Chrisu, as they're fighting tooth and nail. Really, he's surely going to go up the inside, or is he going to think better of it?
It looks like he's going to think better of it. In the meantime, though, Ariane Sanger takes the lead of this one. Just back from Dox and Ace, who took it down the first full straight of this lap. So the front 2, showing that they're not just waiting around, and it's not trading DRS either, because we don't have any DRS in these conditions. We could do soon, though, because the conditions appear to be drying up, despite our reserved opinions. It does appear to be drying up. The lap times are a second quicker than Ariane Sanger's first one that he put in on the first lap of this Grand Prix. And we're now down to 14.6, I believe, was the fastest lap. And Ironut now, he's closed in 4/10 on this lap alone to Sanger and Dux and Ace. So this gamble could be huge for his championship fight.
Yeah, definitely. And it's what they need to keep in the championship fight. It's only 20 points at the moment. It will go to, if Ironut wins and Ariana finishes second, It's what a 7-point swing, and then there's only 13 points in the final round, and we've seen bigger swings swapped on the final round before. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But Darks and Ace has dropped to second to Ariana Sanger.
Yeah, so Sanger clearly having that pace. Darks and Ace maybe trying to use everything in getting into that first place, and then just dropping off now. That will allow Ironut to close in, although it hasn't, because he's actually lost a 10th on that last lap, almost lost 2 tenths to Darks and Ace, in fact. But those Inters are still faster. Proof, Jake Dawson getting past AMG into 10th place, into the final points positions. He also picked up the fastest lap on the last lap. So the time is now for the Inter runners. How much time can they gain? At the moment, not much for Ironut, but Jake Dawson just demonstrating that advantage that he should have, because he's once again almost 2 tenths up in the first 2 sectors. And for the Red Bull, he is absolutely flying at the moment.
Yeah, and the time, well, Darks and Ace now the fastest man on the track. I don't think is going to, but let's see if Jake Dawson does. Jake Dawson does get the fastest lap of the race. It's a 1:14 dead, pretty much, and that's what everyone has to go with. Chrisu falling away from Ironut, and that is proof in the pudding that maybe the wets, well, I don't know, because Ironut's not catching the top anymore. It's 2.6 seconds.
But the times are certainly coming down. That is the evidence. And there's absolute chaos here. Chrisu, David Martinez, Daniel Mouchoir, Timon Voss, and Dallin McTeer now all fighting. It's 3 wide as they head down to turn number 5. Daniel on the outside line, 4 wide as they head down to turn number 5, as Timon Voss gets himself involved as well. Daniel's going to come out on top. Chrisu, just a passenger, as was Mouchoir. And Voss, who made that gamble, tried the send, is dropping all the way down. He's behind Dawson now in this fight, and he's going to fall into the clutches of AMG more likely than going up to that P5, P4 even, that he was going for. Just an absolutely chaotic moment, an absolute head loss, I'd argue, from Timon Voss, who's trying to gain all that time back that he could be losing soon on those wets. He wanted that track position, but now he's lost it all. As Darks and Ace there, first driver into the 13.9. We could be seeing someone fly in there, although with the way that this mid-pack went, it's unlikely. With 3 of those mid-pack being on Inters, and that being the majority of the Inter runners, it's unlikely that anyone was to get the fastest lap there. Yanni Alexandrov, the only driver left who could. And by the way, Ironut not improving for the first time in that first sector. For the first time in this race at all. He is down by 0.05 of a second. Daniel and Chrisu continuing to fight. But it shows that Ironut can be reeled in.
It's absolutely mental, and I'm not sure if they will catch Ironut. Oh my goodness me, that's massive into turn 4. Dallin McTeer got sent into the grass and somehow has got 4th place, but he's dropping down, maybe because of an invalidation. But he was pushed onto the grass, but all of a sudden, it's all kicking back off here. He's now behind Mouchoir, who possibly, I think it was ahead anyway, so it's not that much of a problem. But this group, squabbling away, has now lost, well, they're 5.5 seconds behind Ironut in P3.
Yeah, that is huge for this race, as Ironut goes in there, fastest lap of the race so far, 1:13.790, and he has taken full advantage of those squabbling behind just to try to close in. He's got 2 tenths, 3 tenths now on Darks and Ace in that last lap, and at the moment it's looking set to continue. Don't hold me to that, because I could be very wrong. But Ironut closing in once again. Daniel and David Martinez side by side as they head to the chicane, and there goes another Sauber down the inside. This time it's Mouchoir sending it, and he's alongside Martinez. But this time, it was almost more successful than Voss. He almost made it up to that 4th place around the outside. This could be his opportunity as the Inters start to work for a few of these drivers and those wet runners just trying to claw back any advantage. Martinez squeezing Mouchoir out, and he's able to hold on to that position. Daniel trying to keep a tyre in on Dallin McTeer, but he is unable to. Jake Dawson trying to make his way past Daniel, and it's just the Inter runners trying to scythe their way past the wet runners. At the moment, they're struggling a little bit.
They are just a little bit. I think it's as stupid as it sounds. I think they're like 0.5 tenth quicker down the straight, or they're just a tiny bit quicker, and they're getting to their braking points and everything they need to do just that little bit quicker than they need to. As I think Darks and Ace nearly took the lead of the Grand Prix again. But they just can't seem to fight past that last person. And in this occasion, it's David Martinez. It's Dallin McTeer managing to get past, and he is definitely going to give it a go into turn 3.
Yeah, you think he would, and indeed he is. Oh no, he's just backed out of it there. But, I mean, Mouchouard made his way up to P4, and then he missed his braking point in turn number 1, which allowed Martinez back into it, allowed Dallin McTeer past him as well. So it's not just that it's not just they're being forced into mistakes, they're also making them. McTeer, latest driver to send it down the inside into turn number 5. Martinez squeezed out. McTeer giving it a little bit back to the Aston Martin, getting his elbows out just that little bit, and he's still clinging on to the outside line. What is the grip? It's nothing, because the dry line is where it's gripping up, and David Martinez trying to defend, just squeezed McTeer onto the outside line, gave him nothing, and in return, McTeer was able to back out once again. So now it's 8 seconds, by the way, between Ironut and Martinez, as Ironut bangs in another fastest lap, 1:13.735. The times are definitely, they're still coming down, but not by as much as they were before. Dallin McTeer 0.3 quicker in that sector, but the fastest lap, Ironut's fastest lap, was only, well, it was under a 10th quicker than his previous one. So the time gain, it's getting less and less.
Dallin McTeer has made the move on David Martinez. Inters are, well, seemingly the tyre to be on, I think, now. I think this is just proving the fact with Ironut slowly catching as, well, that's another fastest lap gone in favour of the intermediate drivers. And David Martinez is unable to attack Dallin McTeer down there, but Mucha is being attacked by Jace Dowser. So 2 Inter runners are fighting away.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what happened there, but Jake Dawson ended up in the gravel. Now it's side by side between Daniel and Mouchouard. Mouchouard dropping down once again. Mistakes continuing to come in from the Kick Saubers. Both of them, in fact. And they've both dropped now to P8 and P9, and a 3-second penalty has been applied to Mouchouard's time. So it doesn't matter what tyre they're on, because they just keep making those mistakes.
Yeah, it's not ideal for the Kick Sauber drivers, as Dallin McTeer is slowly, I want to say, oh wow, that is a far bit quicker than the intermediate time set earlier on, and he has caught up with Ironut quite well, half a second since overtaking David Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly gaining time. He's certainly probably quicker than Ironut, I think, just in general, as Ironut's just used that consistency. Jake Dawson, though, well, he's not showing any consistency because he's just absolutely sending it continuously on Daniel, desperately trying to get past those Inters. They are quicker, but he has to be smart about how he gets past. He's passed now with Daniel trying to break later around the outside, but he's just unable to because of how good the Inters are at this point in time. But Dawson's lost 1.7 seconds to those in front. He should have been smart about it and just tried to stay in it. Maybe Daniel did a little bit of the holding him up so David Martinez could break away. That could have been a possibility. But either way, Jake Dawson now 0.3 gained on David Martinez in that last lap. The Inters is the tyre to be on. The gamble that was taken, well, it's been proven absolutely right.
Yeah, it's been a nice toing and froing though between the Inters and the Wets. Ironut slowly catching back up to the front two. It's 1.5 seconds, and I think there is going to be a change for the lead as Darks and Ace try and go around the outside of the Haas of Sanger, but it's just not going to be enough. A little switchback was available, but it's just not enough at the moment. And, well, Ironut responded immediately to Dallin McTeer's quick pace because he's now back up to 7.8 seconds.
Yeah, and he's now back down to 1.1 seconds behind Darks and Ace. We're watching on board now with Ironut, and you can see the Williams rear wing. He's getting closer and closer as he heads now through on lap 13 of this race. And at some point soon, Sanger and Darks and Ace, they have to think about this. They have to think about the strategy that Ironut is on, and they have to think about the strategy that the likes of McTeer, Dawson, and Mouchouard are on. Remember, those penalties, they could still be removed for the likes of Dallin McTeer. I'm sure that at least the 3-second penalty for corner cutting when he was squeezed off of the track will be looked at least. But now Ironut, within 1 second almost, as he heads down the straight. It will be within 1 second as he heads through turn number 1 because of the superior grip that he has. Martinez, 3 seconds worth of penalties picked up. So that could be a factor in who takes P4 in this race. But at the moment, it's looking like the top 3 will be absolutely miles ahead of the rest of the grid, and it looks like Ducks and Ace, he's looking to be miles ahead of Ariane Sanger. Switchback available once again as he heads out of turn number 4, trying to grip it up, but a bit of rear wheel spin on the exit costs him that position. And looking further back, it's looking like chaos once again. Dorsa up into P5 now. Mushwa getting his way past Daniel into P7. But we're going to focus back on that main battle, on the battle for the lead, and on the battle that Ironut has on his hands now to get past Darks and Ace and Ariane Sanger. He's not been pushing particularly hard. He's just been on the better tyre. And it was only Dallin McTeer trying to close in. That's really thrown Ironut into action. And now he's only 2 tenths behind.
I think definitely the ERS usage is on Ironut's side as well. And is that into the pits now? Darks and Ace deciding enough's enough. He's had enough of those wet tyres. Whether he's putting another set of wet boots on or an inter boots, we'll have to wait and see. But Ironut definitely finding a lot more pace. But we saw how long it took the other drivers to get past the wets. But there we go. Darks and Ace, sets of inters, nearly halfway through this race. And he's thinking, I can do an undercut on Sanger here.
And I'm thinking the fact that both the Williams have come in means that they are working together to try to get forward. And, Ducks and Ace coming into the pits. He's come out behind Redmers on 14-lap-old wets. He will be trying to fight with Christian Lubinov. And then there's 1.3 seconds to Jack Maloney. So Ace will be wanting to get past by the end of lap 16. Or at least as early as he possibly can. We will continue to keep tabs on this fight. Make sure you keep tabs on this fight if we end up switching back to that battle for P4, which looks to continually be spicing up. Dorsa gets past Mouchoir. Darks and Ace looking to get past Redmers. He's got the inside line. He's got the grip. And those tyres, they're heated up enough already. And he's made his way into P14. Lubinov, the next target on offer as he sets a purple second sector.
Looking at Iron Up for the lead at the moment, and he's trying to eye up a move for the lead, has other things going on as well. But this, as things stand, he will lose the championship. But he's already going. He's pulling alongside Sanger here, and he's up into the lead, and the championship will go to next round at Sao Paulo as if things stay as they are. But something that it doesn't happen often. Because the tyres do get worn out, these guys don't have to pit in the wet conditions.
Yeah, they certainly don't have to pit if they don't want to, but from the looks of things, that pace advantage on those inters is so large that surely Ariane Sanger is going to have to pit. Darks and Ace, he's made his way past now Jack Maloney, and he's got Danko in his sights as he sights his way through the field. I said he wanted to get past Balsa by the... I think it was Balsa, actually. No, it was Redmers even. On the end, or by the end of lap 16, he could be making his way past his third driver by the end of lap 16, and he switches back to the inside of Danko. That shows the grip that he's got, and he makes his way through. P11 goes to the Williams driver, and Giovanni Baruzza, the next target ahead. Sanger, is he going to come into the pits? No, he's not. He stays out another lap, but those wets surely are starting to reach the end of their operating window. There's yellow flags out. I believe that is for Thomas Balsa. Who, indeed it is, he's gone round, he's waiting for the drivers to go past before he gets going again. And those wets could actually be the wrong tyre to be on, not just because of pace now, but the grip could be falling.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of struggle. I think there's front wing end plate damage to Balsa there, and he's throwing himself, he's going into the pits now. But what Sanger is doing really well here is he's keeping to the slipstream of in first place as Balsa picks up a penalty for speeding in the pit lane and retired from the session. So he's keeping in that slipstream, which is keeping him in keeping him at faster pace than the other wet weather runners. Wow, that is a really difficult to say. Wet weather runners.
Yeah, I'm sure that they're going to start struggling soon, even more than Gareth struggled to say wet weather runners. So, we're over halfway through this race now. Daniel's coming to the pits. Mouchoir is coming to the pits as well to get rid of those inters. He's not going on to dries, is he? He better not be, because look at those conditions. It's lashing down. Dogs and Ace, though, 112.5 the fastest lap that we have seen so far. What is he booting on? It's going to be another set of the intermediates. That's fair enough. That makes sense. And, well, he'll be coming out. He won't have to pit once again. The tyre wear is looking a little bit steep to not pit, but I'm sure somebody is going to try it. And, well, something makes me think that somebody's going to be Yanni Alexandrov, who currently sits in P12. He's prone to doing something silly is the word I'd use for it. And, well, at the moment, he sits in P12. He's behind Mouchoir, but ahead of David Martinez. So that would put him net in that battle for P4 if he is able to hold on to those tyres. Dux and Ace closing in on Time and Voss. It's not been as easy as his closing in on the other wet runners, but another purple sector means that he is now 7/10 behind as Ariane Sanger pulls the trigger. He's into the pits on lap 18 of this Grand Prix, and those wets will be coming off. Where does he come out in relation to Dux and Ace? I think he's going to come out behind. I think he's going to come out even behind Mouchoir, as Dux and Ace now, he's just getting past all of the remaining wet runners who are coming into the pits, and Dallin McTeer as well, who's come in for a set of inters. Looking at where Ariane Sanger is, actually, he's not too far off. I think because of everybody pitting behind him, he's going to be the next driver behind Dux and Ace.
He also doesn't have to battle like Dux and Aces did. Dux and Ace went through, well, had to fight through 5 or 6 cars. Chrisu now the fastest man, and I'm almost guaranteed that Dux and Ace was hoping that his teammate would have come out in front of Ariane Sanger, but it's just not going to be on that occasion. Mouchoir there in 5th place. He's quite a bit higher than Dallin McTeer, and Dallin McTeer was his main rival at that point. So maybe there's a front wing change for Dallin McTeer, or he just had issues on his in-lap.
Possibly so. I mean, I've been prone to forgetting to turn the pit limiter off. So maybe McTeer's making the mistakes that I'm making, but he's much less of a rookie than I am. Ironut into the pits. Jake Dorser into the pits as well. The last inter runners, apart from Yanni Alexandrov, are in the pits. Christoph Godor's AI still believes it is wet conditions, but with Dux and Ace setting laps like that, a 12.3, surely not. Dorset actually stays in the pits for quite a long time, so that's not going to help him. Another couple of tenths that could be absolutely crucial in that fight. Could he actually come out ahead of Mouchoir? Again, slightly slow to get off the pit limiter, and I think that's going to cost him the lead of this battle, as he's come out and he's side by side with Mouchoir, but the kick Sauber tucks back in. He's going to try and make this move in a corner. And why do I feel as though this corner is going to be turn number 5? This is 4 now, and he actually does send it here, as Jake Dorser doesn't have those dry tyres or those tyres up to temperature. But what a move that was, a switchback from Dorser, as Mouchoir once again missing his overtaking spot, and once again missing his braking point. And the kick Sauber just sitting behind as David Martinez. He's not doing no such thing. He's going to try and go around the outside of Yanni Alexandrov with those 17 lap old intermediates. And he makes that move stick.
Yeah, great move there from David Martinez. And, well, pretty simple in the end, really, on the harder tyres of the Ferrari. But Jake Dorser looking very quick coming through the field. He's done a fantastic job in these wet weather conditions.
Yeah, indeed. Ariane Sanger, by the way, 11.5. So we could even be seeing dries towards the end of this race. It'll be tight, but I'm sure a couple will gamble onto it. Godor came in for another set of wets, so he's completely ignoring me. But it looks at the moment as though the Inters are the much faster tyre. Mouchoir could be going for a move on Jake Dorsey. He's closer than ever, in just 2 tenths behind, and improving by 2 tenths as well. So the times are definitely coming down. They are flying down with that crazy lap from Ariane Sanger. 1:11.5, almost dead on in his chase of Dux and Ace. Dux and Ace, whose tyres are 4 laps older. So Sanger is going to have that advantage there just towards the end of the race. It won't matter yet, but right towards the end of the stint, it might start to have a huge influence on the winner of this race. And don't forget as well, Ironut, his tyres are 1 lap younger than Ariane Sanger's. So he has that advantage at least. And he's got the advantage of running those 22 laps on the intermediate so far. He improves. Yanni Alexandrov is going to peel off into the pits. I believe I saw damage there. I'm not 100% sure. But the Ferrari comes in regardless, and he'll be changing onto another set, you'd think, of intermediate tyres.
Have a quick look at the Ferrari. There's no front wing change. It's another intermediates, yeah. But I've just realised Dallin McTeer had that 10-second penalty. So that's why they're so far down the grid and having to do all that work again. And they're side by side into turn 3 of 3 cars. And it's another penalty, and he's being pushed into the wall by Chrisu there.
This is what I mean. Sometimes Dallin McTeer is a victim of some incidents, and there, I think he didn't really have a choice or a say in what happened to his car there. It's the second time this race he has been a passenger in an incident. The first one was down at this corner, turn number 5, where he got caught into the gravel and then pretty much got sent into a group of cars. So I think we might be seeing, towards the end of this one, a little bit of elbows out from Dallin McTeer, a little bit of not caring, because his championship fight is more or less over. And at the moment, Ariane Sanger, he wouldn't quite be stealing that title. He's only just holding on to it. But if he's able to catch up to and pass Darks and Ace, or if Ironut loses any more positions, it's Ariane Sanger's title.
Yeah, it's all so hanging in the balance, isn't it? Dallin McTeer deciding to stay out, even though he had that front wing damage there. It's not ideal for them. I think the closest battle we've got is Jake Dorser and David Martinez, with Mucha just behind, I think, everything else other than that down below, which is going to be kicking off massively. This is the lead for the next biggest points.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're not sitting on the podium, it will still be a good result. David Martinez, interestingly enough, he'll be disappointed with this one, having his only race. Oh, well, there's something to be thrown into the mix, isn't it? Ironut, 3-second penalty. And, well, he will be driving like the Fast and the Furious. He's got 2 more penalties. He's got 2 more warnings to be able to take. If he wants to use them tactically, then he can. But a penalty at this point in the race, that's devastating.
Yeah, I don't want to say it, but it feels like championship may be done at this point for Ironut. And, it's interesting you said about, using the extra warnings tactically. You can do. You get some drivers that will come in and go, right, I can get 2 warnings in this race without getting a penalty, and I'll use them where I can. And some drivers will be like, no, I'm not gonna go over that white line at all. It's interesting on a mindset point of view.
It is, and I think Ironut's one of those drivers who will take full advantage of that. He might not use it yet, because he might be scared of getting another 3 seconds. But towards the end of the race, if he does see that he's dropping off from Ariane Sanger at the rate he is at the moment, I think he will start to try to use that, and it will start to come into effect. 6.3 seconds between himself and Sanger now. 2.6 between Sanger and Darks and Ace. So the Haas edges ever closer to taking that title. And, well, he was 6/10 behind what he is now on Darks and Ace, although mistakes like that won't necessarily help him. A massive slide out of turn number 1. A little bit of just getting on the throttle too early, too eager. And Ariane Sanger, I mean, he's still gaining time, to be fair. So maybe Darks and Ace is doing exactly the same thing.
Maybe it's interesting. Jake Dowser's not catching really Ironut either. It feels like a chess game, but with boxing gloves, I guess is the best way to do it. People are just positioning themselves to land the punch.
They are, and they're waiting for the end of this run now. They're waiting for the last 11 laps to happen, and then they can just go and they can fly. It's not looking as though we're going to be getting dry conditions unless it gets significantly better from here, as it's still pelting down. Sanger, huge mistake out of the final corner. He's once again going to run into the runoff section, and 2.3 seconds. So he's lost 4/10 just in that last corner alone. He's going to have to make those back up, and just a little bit more if he wants to catch up to Darks and Ace. He might not even need this victory, though, for this title, as Jake Dorser is closing in on Ironut. The gap between Sanger and Ironut now 7 seconds. The gap between Dorser and Ironut at 6.1.
Yeah, it's all close. All well, there's just pockets of gaggles of cars really fighting away. As I think that's Daniel fighting just with Voss there for the battle for P7. Daniel unable to make the position stick. But with all the penalties that are around, you can drop down the order with how close some of these guys are.
Easily. You can easily drop down the order, and Ariane's, it wasn't Ariane Sanger, sorry, it's Dallin McTeer who fell foul of that. Jake Dorser and David Martinez continuing their almighty scrap that they have had so far this race. And David Martinez coming out on top this time, but next time it might not be so easy. And I think that they're going to have to stop tripping over each other. They're going to have to work together to gain that time forward, to move forward into the range of Ironut. I mean, Jake Dorser, he's still not got a penalty. So he still has that possibility, and the most likely possibility of moving up into that final podium spot.
Another penalty for Chrisu there. And yeah, Jake Dorser, well, with Jake Dorser and David Martinez fighting away like they are, it's, you've quite rightly mentioned that they're just losing ground to Ironut, and that's not what they need to be doing. Ironut's got that 3-second penalty. David Martinez obviously has had that 3-second penalty as well, but there's a chance for them to catch back up, and they're just not using it as well. They're not using each other as they could do.
Yeah, they're stabilising around the 6.8 to 7 second gap, which is not what they would want to do. The only reason they would want to do that is if Ironut had another penalty, and well, he doesn't. Just watching a 4-car train here. Chrisu, Redmers, Giovanni Baruzza and Danko. Danko got actually very close to the back of Giovanni Baruzza, so close actually, in fact, that the spray became metallic, and just a little bit of Danko's front wing, I think, came off. Not enough to give him visible damage, but just enough to keep him on his toes as they head out of the final corner. And once again, we go for another circuit of the Red Bull Ring, and Danko could be looking for a move into turn number 1. He's opening that DRS. He's not opening that DRS. He's opening that ERS up, sorry. And he's trying to close into Baruzza, but to no avail. And he'll sit back in P12. And Chrisu, he'll sit back, losing more time to Daniel. Redmers isn't very happy with that, because he's going to try and make a move. If not into turn 4, just like there, he's going to try and go turn 5. But Giovanni Baruzza, he's got other plans. He makes the send into turn 4, and only a wobble on the exit means that he doesn't take that position.
It's all close, isn't it? And I think there goes Danko trying to go around the outside of the McLaren of Giovanni, but I don't think it's going to happen on this occasion. And it just feels like as soon as they hit, go outside of the racing line, that these Inters start to struggle. Oh, is the rain possibly getting heavier?
It could indeed be, and that could add to the fascinating strategic battle we've had so far in this race. And I think it's too late for anyone in a relevant position to gamble. The only ones that I think could gamble are those outside of the points, and I find that unlikely at this point in time. Another 3 second for Dallin McTeer. Not been his day. He's up to 9 seconds worth, and if he retires from the session now, I wouldn't ultimately be surprised. It would be, if he finishes this, it'll be his first finish without a podium this season. And we're 90% through it, or we will be 90% through it by the end of this race. Crazy to think that season 19, it's absolutely flown by. And, well, again, a champion could be crowned. Speaking of, Ariane Sanger, 1.3 seconds now behind Darks and Ace. He's been making quiet progress in that Haas car. And Darks and Ace, he's just not quite had the pace that Sanger has as they've gotten used to the intermediate conditions.
Nice. I think by the end of the race, we'll see Ariane Sanger and Darks and Ace fighting away. Possibly with 2 laps remaining, we'll see a battle for the lead. And Ironut now 8.6 seconds behind David Martinez. Hasn't been able to catch. He's caught a little bit, but not too much to Ironut in 3rd place there. And it's really just this train for P9, the final 2 point scoring positions, where any action's massively happening at the moment. And Ariana Sanger actually is catching a little bit more now.
Yeah, just that little bit more, just a little edge that he's got over Ducks and Ace at the moment could be absolutely massive as he heads into the final portion of this race. The final, let's say the final 20% of this race. And he's going to have to give, probably not 100% at this point, but maybe about 80. They are getting slower. He's 0.6 slower after the first two sectors. Something's happened to Giovanni Baruzza. Well, he's just been slipstreamed, it looks like. And he drops down to P14 from what was P number 10, I believe. This side-by-side action. It's 2x2. Noah's Ark as they head into turn 5. And the weather conditions aren't too far off. AMG gets ahead. Redmers and Jack Maloney. Redmers struggling on the exit. And Maloney gets through. That's a massive crash. That's debris flying everywhere. And I believe that involved Jack Maloney and Giovanni Baruzza.
Yeah, it was. It was the two McLarens. The McLaren and the Mercedes. It was also Giovanni and Redemers at turn 3, which is why Giovanni fell down the order a little bit. Front wing damage there for both McLarens, and into the pits go Jack Maloney as well. But that is absolutely crazy to go 3 wide at the exit of turn 4. And the two Mercedes hit each other as well. No love lost between the Mercedes, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure in the post-race debrief, they will be discussing that. AMG to the inside of Danko, and he finally gets that position that he's been trying to get back. P10 is now still, it's a 5-car battle now, but it's different drivers in contention for it. Redmer's managing to stay in this. Clearly, he didn't have damage. I think most of the damage, to be fair, was done to the poor braking marker on the outside of the next corner. We'll see if it's still, it's not intact. It was the 100 meter brake board going everywhere, which means that some drivers, they could miss their braking points. You never know. And it could throw something into it. Clearly, Ducks and Ace was using it as a braking point because Ariane Sanger has closed to 6/10 behind the Williams now. And he will continue to gain time as they head out of turn number 4. He's so much quicker.
He is. The grip levels between the two sets of tyres is possibly the reason. 4 laps between them, and maybe Ducks and Aces tyres are starting to fade a little bit in comparison, not being able to be as competitive as they once were. Just looking at it, if you were in Ariana Sanger's shoes right now, would you try for the overtake, or would you just be, you're pretty much set to win the title right now? It would take something absolutely mental for you not to next week at Sao Paulo. But you could, if you try and make a move on Ducks and Aces, you could get caught in an incident and then lose all that points.
I mean, knowing Ariane Sanger, I think he's going to go for it. I think he's going to try and get this win here and then take all the pressure off him as they head to Brazil, the final round of the season. But firstly, he's got to get close enough to Ducks and Ace. The DRS will not aid him in this one, and he's gotten closer than ever as they head out of the exit of turn number 4. It could be a move into turn 5, but Sanger, just a little bit of a wobble on the exit, means that he doesn't gain as much as he would have wanted to. Ace trying to defend the outside line. Sanger looking for a switchback move, but just doesn't grip up enough and will have to stay sitting behind. I think he's going to try into turn number 6 here. He's going to go on it, braking late. Think that might have even been an end plate off. No, it wasn't, but it looked like something flew off that Haas car, and it made him back out of that move. But Ducks and Ace now still holding onto the inside line. Sanger using that ERS. He wants to make this move as soon as he possibly can. It could be turn 10 where he makes this one. And this would be an impossible one if he holds on to it. Ducks and Ace somehow keeping on the track. Somehow still keeping ahead of Ariane Sanger. That is impeccable defending from the Williams to stay ahead. And they go round for lap 34. And once more, Ariane Sanger is going to try and make that move.
Yeah, this is nuts. And this is what I mean. It could all end to tears for Ariana Sanger. Because imagine you take Ducks and Aces out. Your next nearest rival is there in P3. And he would claim 25 points. And all of a sudden, you'd be out of the lead of this championship, which looks like Ariana Sanger's been there for a little while now. And It's just got to be careful. Surely, just think about the championship.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that he's going to think about the championship. In the meantime, the man third in the championship, Dallin McTeer, officially signals his championship chances over. He retires from this session, and he continues his streak of only finishing on the podium. Sanger has dropped off a little bit. I think he's thinking about it a little bit more because that was crazy side-by-side action through Sector 3. I would never go side-by-side through there, but that is just me. Sanger, though, spotting a little wobble on the entry of Darks and Ace on tournament 10 and 11, and Sanger could be looking to take advantage. He's now 3/10 behind. He's saving everything for this final charge. It's the penultimate lap, and I'd say it's now or never. He could come back next week, but he's going to want to do it now. Darks and Ace is flashing. Sanger spots his opportunity, trying to force Ace to the inside. Indeed, he does. Sanger around the outside, squeezing the Williams, not wanting him to be able to fight back. He is indeed able to fight back. The Riz kicking out for Sanger. They are side by side, almost locking wheels as they head now down to turn number 5. Darks and Ace trying to send it to the inside, braking early, trying to get the turn in and trying to exit late as he gives Ariane Sanger a right old squeeze. They're still side by side, impossibly, as they head to turn 6. And this is rinse and repeat stuff. Sanger, though, this time he's on the inside line. That is the preferred line because that is where we've driven for 35 of these 36 laps. They've driven on the dry line. And for the moment, somehow Ariane Sanger isn't able to take that position. He's going to go for it once again as he heads into the penultimate corner. Just a little correction of oversteer. And he's still clinging to that inside line. A wobble on the exit means that Darks and Ace goes off the circuit. But he's able to get back past Sanger. We're on the final lap now. And the Haas is still trying to find a way past.
This is absolutely crazy. It's like he's pushing Darks and Aces around certain points of this track. And on the final lap, it's still anyone's game between the two of them. Surely up the inside. He's making the move early this time. It's around the outside. There's a little bit of wheel banging between the two of them. There's more wheel banging between the two of them. Neither of them can find grip as they're still battling through it. But I think Darks and Aces is fighting a losing battle here.
I think indeed he is. You can see where the dry line is and you can see where the runoff is. And at the moment, Darks and Ace, he's on that runoff. And, well, he's just looking for an advantage somewhere, but a big wheel spin out of turn number 5. That will spell the end of his chances unless he can find something in this one. But it looks as though Ariane Sanger's going to be able to hold on. It's going to be a nervy few final corners. But the Haas man, he joined 2 races into this one. And he is going to be coming across the line. If he doesn't mess up these final 2 corners, he will come across the line as the season 19 Tier 5 champion. He's got 1 race to go, but he seals it in style with some incredible moves, some incredible fighting against Darks and Ace, who gave up a good fight across the season as well for Ironut. He will come home in P3, and Martinez and Dorsa, speaking of good fighting, they've been going at it all race long. Dorsa will get the win on penalties, and he moves up to P4, Mouchoir P6. Daniel Martinez's teammate, he's in P7 with Voss down in P8. 10 seconds then, back to Chrysu in P9. Timon Voss actually retires from the session somehow, even though he's already finished. Chrysu running off the circuit, and he's picked up a 10-second penalty. I'm sure that'll be appealed, because he will want those points. He drops down to P11 behind Danko, Yanni Alexandrov, Redmer, and that is the final points position going to the Mercedes. AMG and Christian Lubinov finishing, and Jack Maloney will be your final finisher. But there was 15 finishers today, and one of them is now the PC Tier 5 champion.
What an end of the race there. Ariana Sanger and Darks and Ace gave us an absolute wonderful show for the final 3 laps, didn't they? I've really enjoyed the battle there. But some, we mentioned about some controversy. We definitely had some tonight.
There certainly was. And I think the results of this race are not yet decided. I think they'll be decided in the stewards' room. But the top 2, I think, will just stay out of it. They will just stay as they are. And they are the top 2 in this race. And they were certainly the top 2 in this race. And I think it is a deserved top 2. Ariane Sanger allegedly going across the line in low fuel mode. If they'd have had 1 extra lap, then it could have gone all so wrong for the Haas driver. but that just demonstrates how well he was able to manage this Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah, wonderful race that, and yeah, Ariana Sanger, Darks and Aces, and Iron Up. It felt kind of apt that it was those three at the end there towards the top. But I'll let you run down the order if you wish.
I'm just waiting for it to load on my end, but then I will definitely run through the order. It might not even come up as the timer ends, but I can go back and have a look on the stream to have a look at the final race results. There we go. Ariane Sanger taking that victory here in PC Tier 5. He was joined on the podium by Darks and Ace and Ironheart after an incredible battle between the top two. Jake Dorser taking 4th place after penalties ahead of David Martinez. They fought tooth and nail all race long. Mouchoir and Daniel, 2 more drivers who fought all race long. It felt as though it could have been a hell of a lot better for the Kick Sauber, who ends up in 6th place. Danko in 8th, Yanni Alexandrov in 9th, and Redmers in 10th. An incident he was able to recover from with his own teammate. He ended up with that final points position. Chrisu in P11, but I'm sure that will change as he picked up a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits because he just ran on the grass right at the end the entire way down the pit straight. So expect to see him getting into the points and see Redmers squeezed out. And then you have... then you've got AMG, P12, Christian Yubanov, P13, Timon Voss will be registered in P14, but he also retired after the line. So I think, again, it's not over in terms of the points. Jack Maloney, P15, Giovanni Baruzza, P16, but a retirement. Christoph Godor, he didn't retire, but he was in AI the whole race, so he may as well have done. And Adela McTeer and Thomas Balser, your 2 DNFs.
Yeah, what a crazy end to the Grand Prix. Really enjoyed that one from the Tier 5 gents. But yeah, crazy. And Ariana Sanger is a champion.
Yeah, and I mean, I briefed Warder before this race, and I briefed him on some things that would happen. I think most of them came true. So I'm feeling pretty chuffed with myself. If I'm being honest with you, we've got nobody in the interview room. That's absolutely fine by me, because I think now is a good time to end the stream. You can rewatch it if you want to watch some absolutely crazy action. You can join us next week for the season finale. But until next time, it is goodbye.